Yo, welcome to the Gig Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie Taylor. My guests today, well, joining me all the way from New Orleans are Charlie Wooton and Arsène DeLay. Charlie's a monster bass player originally from Lafayette, Louisiana. He's toured the world, played with legends like Cyril Neville, Doug Wimbish and Sonny Landreth, and created his own sound blending zydeco, Cajun, funk and soul with his band Zydefunk. Well, Arsène, what a voice. She's from New Orleans, comes from a long line of jazz royalty, all soul and class. Together they've made some awesome music, including their latest project, Blue Basso. They're bringing their Louisiana magic down under this August for an Aussie tour. They'll be hitting stages across Sydney, Canberra and Melbourne, and they're playing with some of our finest, including Ray Beadle, Jamie Cameron, Shannon Stitt and Geoff Achison. In this chat, we talk about their musical roots, the story behind Blue Basso, life in New Orleans and the up-and-coming Aussie shows, and this was certainly an education for me in the history and music of Louisiana. This is episode 160, Charlie Wooton and Arsène DeLay. Here we go. I think we're rolling. So today we got Charlie Wooton and Arsène DeLay. Is that how I say your last name?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Nailed it. I'm not often very good at pronouncing names. So yeah.
No, you did excellent today.
Awesome,
yeah?
awesome.
Excellent.
So
the first name's the doozy.
Yeah. Well, I actually heard you say her name when you were calling for her, so I got a little bit ahead of the ball there. so when you went to get it from the other room, I'm practicing going, Arsène.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So guys, you are currently in New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm in Sydney, so it's 7:00 in the morning here, and it's 4 p.m. over there. And
That's right.
Charlie, we were just talking there. You're saying it's really, really hot there at the moment.
Yes. June, July, August, don't come here.
Yeah,
don't
right.
come here and, just stay away. We're really excited because we're going to get there at the end of July.
Yep.
And we're coming a couple days early.
Yep.
And that's about the time, like June and July are tough, but when you start getting to August, when that third month of constant heat, so we're going to be ready to come see you guys and bring our sweaters.
Bring your jackets.
I'm very excited.
Bring your jackets. Bring your woolly hats.
I'll be very pleased about it.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about it.
Pre-pandemic, there's a lot of touring, and we go to Canada or north of Europe and stuff. So just get out of town. But since then the touring's kind of been tough. So
rough.
I pulled up Google Maps, and I've been trying to familiarize myself with Lafayette. Right. So so the first thing that sort of popped up, looks like there's a swamp area, but there's a thing there that says Cajun Country Swamp Tours. So what would a Cajun Country Swamp Tour be? Speaking from someone that's never been there.
Maybe somebody that talk like that gonna take you out to the swamp and on a big fan boat and show you around and show you some alligators and some turtles and some So it's a tour on a fan, the fan boats,
almost like a hovercraft type sort of thing with the big fan.
With a big fan on the back of it to
awesome.
push you around.
Awesome,
yeah.
Cool, okay, all right.
So there's the Atchafalaya Basin is in between New Orleans and Lafayette.
Okay,
and so the importance of that is before interstates and stuff, it was really difficult to get back and forth. So there was a big separation. So Lafayette has a sound and New Orleans has a sound. Now, some of that sound has sort of been mixed up, and I have a band called Zydefunk where I mix all of it together. But it's definitely different
It's two
regions.
very distinct styles of regional music. So people will come to New Orleans and be like, "Oh, where can I go hear good zydeco?" And I look at them like, in Lafayette.
Yeah, right. I gotcha.
Like that's the place you would go for good zydeco.
Right.
I mean, there's maybe one or two groups around here, but that would be the the home base.
Yeah, I've been trying to familiarize myself with Zydeco and Cajun and Creole a little bit over these last few days before we got to sit down and have a talk. So I'm certainly not going to say I know too much of the big differences between the three, but I did watch hang on, where's my notes here? So there's a violin player called Cedric Watson, right? So you know of him, right? So the way he explained Creole music and Cajun music, the difference, he said when he's playing the violin is the Creole, it might be sort of longer bow strokes on the violin, where the Cajun is a little bit more staccato type. So that was, so I don't know I don't know if that's sort of correct there, or if I'm getting the wrong end of the stick there, but yeah, it's hard to try and familiarize myself too much in a couple of days of the. No,
I think you're getting a personal thing from Cedric. We know Cedric. He not only plays violin, he plays accordion. He does everything.
Yep.
But he's in my world, he's one of the young cats, right?
Okay.
I'm 55, but I grew up in Lafayette. My mom's a Varette from New Iberia, Louisiana. So that's where my Wooton name isn't Cajun. I get the Cajun from my mom's side. And my great-grandparents came straight from France, right? So to basically Cajun music before Zydeco ever came along was just fiddle and guitar, okay? Spoken French. Then Clinton Chenier came along and created this music Zydeco with the accordion. And it was accordion and washboard, and nobody had a lot of money back then, so they were beating on boxes. It was front porch stuff, you know what I mean? And to be honest, just brutally honest, is definitely a white and black thing. Cajun music was the black.
No, Zydeco.
Zydeco.
Zydeco is a black music form. Cajun was a white music form.
Right. And back in the 80s, I was the only white guy playing Zydeco clubs. When I went to play the clubs, I was the only white guy there. And it was amazing. We played 6 hours of dance music, and we never took breaks. It just went on. There was no separation of the crowd and the band. It's all one. Zydeco music isn't fun without the dancers.
I understand. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so as far as Creole and New Orleans, now, sorry, that was our dog. And so Arsène is from New Orleans.
Okay.
And her family, she comes from a famous musical family. And we actually live in their house in the 7th Ward. And if you ever saw Treme on HBO, that's the neighborhood we live in.
Mm.
So, yeah.
7th Ward. So can you explain what that is? Is that like a...
wards are when you break up when you break up areas of the states, a lot of people call them counties.
Okay.
And in Louisiana, because of the French roots, they're broken up into parishes instead. And within those parishes, like especially in the city of New Orleans, you have different wards. Wards are neighborhoods.
Okay, understood.
So
okay.
Like the 7th Ward, 8th Ward, these are sections of the city. That's basically like, and we use those wards whenever we go to vote or something like that. It's like, okay, the 7th Ward precinct, 6th Ward, 8th Ward, 9th.
Let's roll back. Both of you roll back to how music all sort of started off for you. So, and from your two different areas, right? So Charlie from Lafayette and Arsene from New Orleans. So how did music come about for you both? Let's start with Arsene.
It was always there. It's been there since the very beginning. I come from a long legacy of jazz musicians and a long line of them. I thought it was the norm because it was what I grew up in. So music was always around. I started playing piano when I was 3. I always sang in choir. I started trumpet in grade school. And so when I was young, like right around kindergarten timeframe, my family, my mom and my father and we moved to Germany because my father was active duty military. So when we went there, like other people not doing music the same way we did was strange to me, even though I still had access to it because I had an aunt who was a beloved jazz singer in Europe. Her name was Lillian Boutet. And I would see her all the time. Luckily, we were close enough that we would see her while she was touring Europe all the time. So between like that and, I don't know, I've always done it. I was always in choir. I was always in music, always competing in talent shows. I am trained in theater, but always did music. Like my degrees are in theater and acting and in performance. But music was music was something that I always accessed. It was always something that was very natural to me. So, I just stuck with it.
Yeah, nice one. Charlie.
So a similar thing, my family, my grandfather, my papa, my mom's dad played guitar and sang. And my earliest memories are him just playing old French songs. And he was kind of shy, but he'd start playing. The next thing you know, the whole party would just start surrounding him. It was just this natural, like he was this natural magnet,
Yeah, right.
And then I also have 4 older brothers, and they all play. My oldest brother plays piano and guitar and sings and has perfect pitch and can't read a lick of music, but writes the most amazing stuff you ever heard. The brother below him is got a doctorate in music. He's famous for being the rudimental guy in drum and bugle corps. Like that's his thing, right? And then my other 2 brothers played trumpet and sax. So there was always instruments in the house. And 5th grade, I started on drums, but was very bored. So I moved to trumpet in the 6th grade. And then my freshman year of high school, the summer of, my foster brother left a bass at my house. And there was never a bass at the house. We had pianos, drums, guitars, everything else. And I opened it up and I hit one note and I was like, that's mine. None of my brothers played.
Vibration, right? Yep.
Yeah. And so that's where I found my voice. But it was being surrounded. Louisiana's, we all learned how to play by jamming. Like we didn't know we were learning, kind of, We just figured it out.
And my parents, like my mom sings, my dad's a bass player as well. So
that helped me out when we met.
Let's get to how you guys met then, and then we can sort of branch out or come back if we need to.
Well, so we met in 2012, but I was at the time playing Royal Southern Brotherhood and Bonorama, and I had played House of Blues and had to run through the French Quarter to play with Bonorama for the Fleur de Lis drop, like on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve,
I was sitting in. They had me come up and sing with them. At that particular show, I had recently moved back home from Los Angeles. I had been out there in a band I'd been out there for 6, but I'd been in a band for about 4 years out there, and was going back and forth for about a year and a half, and then had just moved back to work on my first solo record. Because before then, I had really made, much of my living came from either being a band mate or, in a band somewhere else or doing backing vocal work or something like that.
So we met that night, but it was a crazy, frantic night, and it was in passing. And so then fast forward, I guess, 2017, 16, somewhere around there. I was producing a record of a friend of ours, and she was kind of coming around and
the mutual friend. Like we did a songwriter session, and I mean I knew Charlie, like he was in the ecosystem and stuff like that, but he was producing his record, and a friend asked me to come and put some backing vocals on it. So we started working together then, and we just became buds, and the rest is c'est la vie. Charlie.
We became good friends. And then we started hanging out a little more. And we didn't tell anybody for like a year and a half. We didn't even tell our bandmates. I would book tours and book her room and book my room. And then we'd go. And then eventually we're like, hey, it was a lot of fun. We were both in the public eye and going through things. So we didn't want anybody to know what was going on. And we had a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's cool. Like a couple of teenagers, right?
It was. It was, being late 40s and that happening, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, really cool. Yeah, there's so much sort of musical history, particularly you Charlie, not because you don't have the musical history, Arsene, but I didn't sort of realize at the time we were going to be sort of doing this together. So I've got heaps of Charlie's stuff and not so much of yours. But
that's okay.
After this, I will go back and I will find yours, and then we'll sort of. So apologies for that.
That's all right.
like I said, I was trying to work out the different sort of styles of music in the area and trying to differentiate between how you would apply bass guitar to those types of music. And then, of course, you've sort of combined them together for Zydefunk, right?
Yeah.
So you've taken all the elements of the stuff that you grew up with, and then that sort of the Jacko influence and I've read here that you were a big Spyro fan as well, which is pretty awesome. Me too. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Zydefunk and how you sort of came about with that.
I see you got a bass back there, Mark Bass. Are you a bass player?
I am a bass player, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I'm a bass player, drummer. I'm drummer first, but bass player second.
All right, let's touch on the Spyro Gyra thing real quick.
Cool, man.
The name of the record is Blue Basso.
Right, that's the bass.
This is the bass.
That's the bass. Okay.
This is the infamous bass.
Awesome.
So when I was a kid, Spyro Gyra came through Lafayette, and I was too young to go to the club. And my brothers came home, and I said, "How was the show?" They're like, "It was okay, but Kim Stone on bass killed it." And he did this solo, Bob Goes to the Store, and I got his autograph. And so when I was 20 years old, I moved to Los Angeles, and I worked at a rehearsal studio. 7 rooms, big rooms. People come there for like a month at a time before a tour or record, and I met everybody under the sun. And there was a band called Glee, which is a New Orleans saying. It's this guy, Steve. So I go in there just to meet everybody, and Kim Stone is playing bass. And I'm like, dude, I have your autograph. Long story short, he wouldn't give me lessons, but I would go to his house and jam. And so I was living in LA and I didn't have a 5-string. And literally my first audition was with Diana Ross, and I could read really good. So I sight read the whole audition. And I was only auditioning because my boss knew somebody. Like I was just in a good position. It wasn't like they knew who I was. I was like 21 years old at the time. And the guy goes, "Hey man, couple of things. There's no way Diane's going to bring you on. You're too young. Second thing is you need to get a 5-string," because they had the low C's written and I didn't have a 5-string. So Kim came to me and said, "Hey, I have this bass for sale." I said, "Kim, I'm broke." He's like, "Here, just take it." So
wow.
I used to listen to that bass on records and now I have it. And the Blue Basso record is a dedication to that bass. You know what I mean?
Right. Gotcha.
And as far as Zydefunk's concerned, after living in LA for a few years, I kind of got tired of living out there. I wanted to get back to the South, and I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And while I was living in Atlanta, Georgia in my mid-20s, I started Zydefunk because I was missing home. And I wanted to play, some Cajun zydeco music. And the band started out as a Cajun zydeco band, but then I changed the name to Zydefunk and brought in New Orleans funk. And because I was in Atlanta, I could do something they don't do down here, which was mix the genres. And I also didn't have Louisiana musicians there, so it was kind of our take on it. There was some jam band kind of stuff because, that was the time of Derek Trucks and all that stuff and everything. And those are the musicians I was hanging out with. They're monster musicians. But what's really strange, like most zydeco drummers can't play a second line, which is a New Orleans groove. And most New Orleans drummers can't play zydeco, you know? So it's in Atlanta, I had really, really good drummers that would go and study each thing and they bring their take on it, you know? So I took the liberty to basically it's a Louisiana band representing all of it. The blues of Louisiana, the funk, yeah.
That's cool. So how does that go down in the different areas? So if you're playing some New Orleans gigs, then you go back up to. Do you ever get back up to Lafayette to play? Have you taking your music back there?
Every once in a while, Lafayette's a different kind of town. Okay. I was ready to get out of there it was wonderful growing up there, right? But it's a small town, small university town. And we go back and visit
on occasion, but not on a regular basis.
And playing live there isn't as profitable as staying in New Orleans or going up the East Coast or something, So, but there's a studio there called Dockside Studios, which is our favorite studio to go to. And so we spend a lot of time there for sure.
So why is it a favorite studio? What's it got that other studios don't have?
It's beautiful. Steve and Wish are amazing. Justin, the engineer, is fantastic. It's just a really great studio to record in. And they have a Neve console, which is like
one of 10.
It's one of 10 in the world.
Nice.
And they know how to make you can make a really beautiful record there.
Mm-hmm. And it's all on one piece of property. So when you drive in, there's these beautiful oak trees, and as soon as you go straight in, there's a pool house. There's the owners live in a big antebellum house to the right, and to the left is the barn where the studio is. So you never leave. You spend the night there, you sleep there. I grew up there. My brother lives across the river. Like my nephews used to show up on boats and stuff.
And it's right on the river too. So it's just a really it's a really serene place where you can where you can just get away from the city, get away from the noise, and just focus on creating.
Creating, that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's go back to your album, Blue Basso. Hang on, because I've been saying it, Blue Basso, for the last 3 days in my head. If you say something enough in your head, it becomes that.
Sure. It's the Italian word for bass.
But okay. So it's
If you look on the cover,
Basso,
if you look on the cover in the background, I have bass in every language written on the cover of the record.
Okay.
And the Blue Basso came from it's look, when I talk about these things, I'm still a kid, right? I'm 55 now, but 15-year-old me, when I was in my 40s, I'm touring around the world, and I was walking in this town in Italy, this little town, and they had some patios. Everybody's drinking their coffee. It's the morning. They have these festivals in these little towns, and I'm walking down the street, and some guy stands up, and he goes, "Blue Basso," and he starts clapping. And the whole patio stands up, and then the patio across from me stands up, and they're all Blue Basso, and they're all I haven't even played yet.
Yeah.
And I'm just, because in Europe they do their homework, right? Like when a band comes, they look everything up and they know what's going on before you even get there.
That's
and
cool.
I just remember it being one of those moments in my life where I'm like, okay, I remember wanting to do this, and here I am. This is it, and that's why I named it that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So on that first track, you've got Doug Wimbish playing bass on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I first heard of Doug Wimbish. He was out here. Well, actually, I was living in back in New Zealand at the time, but there was this performance that came on our local television, and it was Mick Jagger, and he was doing a tour of Australia, and he was singing. He had Joe Satriani playing guitar. He had Doug Wimbish playing bass, Simon Phillips playing drums. And I can't remember who the rest of the band, but it was a killer band, right? So
yeah,
and so I sort of knew who Doug Wimbish was, and I'm a massive Living Colour fan. I love Living Colour, and Muzz Skillings is one of my favourite bass players, right? And then when I heard that after Time's Up, when he left the band, I was gutted, right? I was destroyed.
Sure,
and then
sure.
I heard that, Doug Wimbish was playing bass for Living Colour. I'm like, Doug Wimbish, the Mick Jagger bass player? I mean, come on, man, And then once that album Stained came out from Living Colour, I don't know if you've heard that, but the bass playing on that is just unbelievable. So, when I saw that Doug Wimbish was playing on one of your tracks, so I'm curious as to sort of how you got to know him and how he got to be playing on your track. Sorry, the next question is, how do you dual bass with Doug Wimbish?
Well, first of all, he's a freak of nature, and he's the sweetest guy you ever met in your life. How we met was he started coming down for Jazz Fest, and here in New Orleans, and which is a big deal if you don't know. It's Mardi Gras and Jazz Fest are the biggest holidays here, basically. And so he started coming around. I think I met him. Well, no, actually, I know exactly how I met him. He was at Jazz Fest walking around, and I'm the kind of guy that goes up to him and goes, "Hey, Doug, my name's Charlie, and I play bass, and I think you're awesome." And he shakes my hand and looks at me like, "Okay," with his lady. And I'm like, "Sorry, dude, but I just had to meet you." That's how we met. But then Eric McFadden, who plays with Parliament Funkadelic, or played with, now has a band called Sergeant Splendor. He and I were doing some things together. And through Eric and Doug were real tight. And so Doug started coming down, and we just started hanging out. I did a show here with him. It was Joey Peebles, Trombone Shorty's drummer, my brother on steel drums, and me and Doug doing double bass. As far as the double bass stuff, I do that a lot. I do it on my records. Like, there's a bunch of background bass stuff that you're not hearing on all my records that I just put pads and whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But Doug is that way too. Doug's got a huge pedal board, you know, and we just knew how to stay out of each other's way, basically, And he did a bunch of shows with us. He sat in at Homa when we did the festival in Homa, and haven't seen him since pandemic. He quit coming, but everything's changed since then. But man. So it's just one of those things where me, the little kid in me, same with Kim Stone, right? I've got to meet a lot of my heroes. When I was at Royal Southern Brotherhood, I toured with Cyril Neville, man. I wrote, I did 4.5 years. I wrote songs for Cyril before I met him. And then got to present them to him and recorded them with him. So I've been very, very fortunate. And I just kind of put myself out there. You know what I mean? Take the chance. Why not? All they can do is say no.
Yeah. Very good. So Arsene, how did how was the writing process, getting your ideas and your vocals to sort of link in with what Charlie's, writing on bass and that kind of stuff? How was that?
For Blue Basso, it was the song that I would say like the song that was probably like mutually a back and forth writing is Reflections.
Yep.
But for the most part, the rest of the stuff, the tracks were already done.
Okay.
So he was like, "Yeah, I'm working on this I'm doing this stuff." Ultimately, I came in on the Blue Basso project because he was also trying to convince me to let him, like, he wanted to produce my second album. I was writing and working on that, and I was producing it myself. He's like, "Oh, I think I should produce it." And I'm just like, "I've had really bad experiences. No, thank you. I am good. I'm going to do it myself."
Yep.
And, it took a good like 2.5 years, 3 years. Cause he would ask me and I'd just be like, we'll see. I'm not, jury's still out on that. But he carried me. He was like, I'd love to have you work on this with me. And so he sent me a bunch of tracks and was like, "If you have anything, let's see what you got." So, I'm trying to think. Most of that, like,
we wrote Reflections together.
We wrote Reflections was like the truly, like, I guess would be like the most collaborative of the two, or of the tunes on there. And then
the rest
of it was, like he gave me the tracks
to figure it out.
And it was just like, here you go, figure it out.
This is it.
And so like there was some stuff that I wrote, but there was like one or two of them, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do on this.
Yeah.
And we were on our way to Atlanta to play a gig, and I'm literally in the car writing lyrics on the dash, like in my notebook on the dashboard. Like One Night is one of those. I wrote that one. I finished it the day before we went, or like the day before something. And I remember because I'm sitting in our friends, they have like a covered patio, and I'm sitting out there writing, and he's just pacing back and forth, and I was just like, you can stop now. Like, you're not helping. But I mean, I pretty much wrote the rest of it. Like he gave me the tracks, and I listened to them a couple of times, and I have like a notebook of I have a fragment notebook of just because I write random shit all the time. So I just kind of started looking through, and I'm like, okay, what's sticking out? What sounds like what's coming up, and what sounds like it wants to be with this particular thing. So that's pretty much how I did it. It was a stretch. It was a stretch for me, which was good. It got me out of my comfort zone because I was very used to like, I was very accustomed to like having a full song, having the full idea, knowing exactly like, I don't let things out into the world until I am positive that it's like bulletproof to a certain extent. So,
but she's good for a challenge. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Reflections was written, I was in St. Lucia. And I remember it was early on when we were hanging out, and I told her, I said, oh, you might not hear from me for 2 or 3 days. I'm going to St. Lucia to just like escape. And like I called her like 3 times the first day, and then I picked up my friend's acoustic guitar and played that, the little groove, the 2-chord groove. I sent it to her. The next day I got a voicemail back with her singing the verse over it. I was like, that's cool. The rest of it was, like you said, it was tracks that I did. And I sent it to her. I said, you got to fit the vocals in. This is it. These are the tracks. They're not going to get. Yeah.
So it's like I already had a framework, which is also nice because, it's, I actually don't mind working in an already existing construct. It just, it's very much.
It's like a session, right? Almost like a session. Treat it like a session.
Yeah, like when I was in art school, some of the best stuff that came out of, the, assignments that I had, when I was painting is when we had restrictions. It's like, okay, we want you to paint this, but you can only use this particular color scheme, and it has to be pointillism or something. Like, you can't use the brush. You can use every part of the brush except for the bristles or something like that. And so it was kind of, it brought me back to those, and it was good.
Yo, Stevie here. I hope you're enjoying this episode today. If you're digging it, learning something new, or just having a good time hanging with us, and you'd like to give a little something back, you can now gift back and support the show. It helps keep the mics on, the stories flowing, and the episodes coming. No pressure at all, but if you feel like the podcast has brought you some value, this is your chance to return the favour. Go to thegiglifepodcast.com/giftback. You'll also find a link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening and being part of this journey. Now, back to the show. So the actual recording sessions themselves, so the ideas that you took in for those sessions, were they pretty much what ended up on the album?
Well, pretty much, because the tracks were already done.
Yep.
So,
no, but you wrote the vocal. Do you write the lyrics for the songs?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what you sort of walked in there with lyric wise, was that pretty much what ended up, or was there a pre-production Like Charlie, did you know what the lyrics were going to be when Arsene came in to sing the songs?
With the exception of Reflections, not really. I mean, she showed me some of the words, but like if you listen to Tell Me a Story, there's, I like putting extra 2 measures here, extra turnarounds, right? Mm-hmm. So there'll be a short turnaround, then a long turnaround. So she's got to go, hold on a second, I can only fit this.
Yeah, I have to go in and be like, all right, here's this many measures.
Yeah, it wasn't 4, 4, 4, 4. You know what I mean?
It wasn't a straight formula.
That's really interesting, that, because when I first started listening to it, I'm very, very aware of vocal phrasing, right? And then what you think would be, say, for example, an 8-bar sort of measure and a normal sort of turnaround, your vocal phrasing towards the end of it would change, and and in my head I'm thinking that phrasing's gone for a change, but there's no change, but there actually is a change. The song's actually changed, so it's actually made me really, really think about how the songs were formed, and
yeah.
Congratulations for that. That's cool. It got me really thinking. Thanks. It was good.
I'm really proud of that record. The writing, the everything, the playing, and a lot of it was recorded on the spot. What's the one that we always play?
Oh,
what's the name of that one?
I don't know. That literally, that one's funny because I overheard him and the session guys. They were like, "Well, what are we going to name this?" And one of them goes, "I don't know." Oh. And so I was like, "All right," because I asked him. I go, well, "What's the name of the song?" He's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "Okay, we're going to roll with it. We're just going to roll with it." And that's what I did.
The drummer brought in this hip hop groove with 3 notes, ding, down, down. That was it. That's all he goes. Can we do something with that? And it ended up becoming a swing tune. It's all kind of changes that we wrote right on the spot. Tell Me a Story was written in the studio. On the way to the studio, my guitar player, Daniel Groover, who's been kind of like my musical partner for the last 20 years, I go, man, I want to do like a Freddie King kind of groove. Boom, boom, ba-do-ba-doom, boom, right? And I just sang that. And next thing you know, we sped it up a little bit, put like a Ray Charles kind of thing on it, and that's where we just started with the one groove. And when you're with other people who are present and like-minded, it's easy to write. You know what I mean?
Mm. And the band sessions, so a lot of that sounds like sort of one take stuff, like right through. It doesn't sound like as you're playing like songs are supposed to be played, right? You're counting it in and you're playing that song right to the end. And were they live tracked? Were you live tracking together?
The guitar, bass, and drums were.
Yeah.
I went and put Keiko Komaki, our favorite keyboard player ever, went and put the keys on after. Percussion, any percussion you hear was done after, but the three of us went in there and laid down the chord tracks. Yeah, we do them live,
and you can hear it, and it gives it life, man.
At the end of I Don't Know, I think it was I Don't Know. Yeah, that bass solo is only because the drummer just kept playing. Like, we stopped the song, everybody stopped. He kept playing. I just went and I just started soloing. Like, we weren't planning on leaving it, and then we went back and listened and said, just leave it. Why not?
Awesome. That's awesome. Very good. So you guys are coming out to Australia soon.
Yeah.
So a mate of mine, Ray Beadle, messaged me and says, this guy, Charlie Wooton and Arsene DeLay are coming out to Australia and I'm going to be playing with them, and he wants to do some interviews. So that's thanks, Ray, for the heads up here, and this is how we're sort of talking about this today. But just on the Sydney gigs that you're doing, I mean, that band that Ray's put together, Jamie Cameron on drums and Shannon Stitt on keyboards. I don't know if you've heard those 2 guys besides Ray, but wow, that's some top shelf stuff. You got a fantastic band coming in there. So
cool.
Yeah, let's talk about those gigs and we'll promote them a little bit.
Yeah. So first time I came to Australia was with Royal Southern Brotherhood a bunch of years ago. We played all over the place. We ended up doing Byron Bay and going up and down. And then James Southwell heard me. and his dad. And so they brought me to Threadbow Blues Festival one year that, I ended up playing there. And then I came back a couple years later and did a bunch of gigs with James Southwell and toured around for about 6 weeks. And so that's one of my Australian contacts. My other Australian contact was Geoff Achison, who lives in Melbourne. Jeff used to come to the States, and he came to Atlanta. And when I was in Atlanta,
he's a guitar player, right?
Yeah. He's great. And so when he came to Atlanta, I would tour with him. So I've had these just weird connections with Australia. And then when I was at Threadbow the first time, I heard Aidan Glover. You know Aiden, the kid, and Aiden and his mom and dad came to the States and hung out. My oldest brother went to Australia with me one time and met them, and then when they came here, they all drank together and had fun and whatever. So I remember one time I was in Australia, I was in the outback, and we had a bonfire. We're eating steak and oysters, and they're lighting aerosol cans, and we're shooting them with 22s. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in the swamp in Louisiana. Man. This is what we do at home. I'm like, awesome. This is great. I fit
just
right in.
Just no alligators.
So David Glover booked us for the International Blues Festival in July 1st or 2nd, maybe something like that. It's that Saturday that we're coming in. August 2nd, that first weekend in August. And so that got booked, and they're like, "What are we going to do?" We got in touch with Jeff Trio. Jeff hooked us up with Ray Beadle and booked the rest of the shows. So I think on the Wednesday night we get there, we're playing at Miss Clessy's. Is that how you say it? Do you know that venue?
Oh, Miss Seeley's.
Miss Seeley's, that's it.
Yep.
And we're going to use Aiden and Ed. And then on Thursday, we go down to Canberra and play with James. We're just going to do a duo thing. And then we come back up and do the 3 shows with Ray.
Yep.
And, man. And, Ray's a monster. And I actually haven't, we met via internet. We actually haven't shook hands yet. But every time we talk, we have a blast talking to each other. And, we both listen to each other's stuff and have a mutual respect. And, really look forward to coming and doing these songs with them and, having a good time.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about that you don't get asked about in interviews? Because I like to sort of is there information that you want to sort of share on your careers that people wouldn't often ask you about?
We've been asked a lot of silly questions. I remember one time I was with Mike Zito and we were in Europe somewhere doing a tour. I mean, we're killing it. And the guy goes, "So when do you think y'all make it?" And Mike's like, "I haven't had a job in 10 years. What do you mean? I'm out here like this is, we might not be playing arenas, but this is what we do, The other question I always get asked is, where's your favorite place to play? And it's this little dive bar in Atlanta, Georgia called Northside Tavern with a crappy PA and people are right on you. But I just love playing there because it just has this vibe. But as far as I don't know. What you got? You got anything?
As far as...
What you don't get asked that you would like to say?
A lot, no.
I like to brag about her a lot.
Cool, man.
Because I have so much respect for her. And I'll tell you, when we first started playing together, she had this a Monday night residency right around the corner from here. And I would go, and she had this friend named Eddie Tebby, who is paraplegic. He'd sit in a wheelchair, and he'd sit at the bar, and I'd sit next to him. And it might just be the two of us in there, because, it's every Monday. So sometimes it'll start slow or whatever.
It was, I had that residency for every Monday for about 5 years.
And I would sit down, and I'd put my head down. I'm like, I'll pick my head up when she misses a note. Well, I never pick my head up. You know what I mean? And then I started doing the residency with her, But it's really cool to your, not only your musical partner, but your partner in life.
Yeah.
That for me, listen, man, I have played with the greatest. I mean, you just named Doug Wimbish. I mean, on that record is Sonny Landreth. And I mean, all those guys are the baddest. I've been very fortunate. But she is the one that brings my conscious level to its highest because of the respect I have for her talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's another level, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so awesome to have that when you go play. You know, I don't have to go find it. It just shows up automatically when we play together.
This is like, you know, I mean, music is, I guess I may often come off as like nonchalant about it because it's such like doing it all the time is a very normal thing.
I understand. Yeah.
For me. So, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I just did, you know, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, I went and sang with the Louisiana Philharmonic, no big deal. And they're like, but, you know, and then the picture comes out and it's like this massive orchestra behind me. And I'm like, it was amazing when it happens. It's amazing when it happens. But, you know, I consider myself lucky to have, endured and survived being a career musician, especially in the past couple of years, because it was really hairy during COVID, you know, because I was going full-fledged, and I'll, you know, in a matter of 3 days, you know, that was 32 gigs and a European tour that all came crashing down. And so I'm really excited to be coming to Australia because it's really my first time finally getting a chance to travel across the pond, because things were so dicey.
Yep.
We were trying to, you know, in those years that were lost, I just remember every time we kept trying to like restart things, like, oh, this festival you know, you get booked for this and then they have to shut it down, or it's a no-go. So I think, you know, I've been holding out on this. Like I didn't really, you know, friends of mine are just coming up to me and they're like, so you're going to Australia? That's amazing. I'm like, yeah. They're like, you don't seem excited. I'm like, yeah. I don't want to get excited because I don't want it to get canceled.
When I'm on the plane, when I'm on the
plane, it'll be like,
my birthday was June 11th, and we booked the flights on June 10th. And I'm like, that's my birthday present. Like, the flights are booked. We're going. I said, if all the gigs get canceled, we're still going. Yeah, awesome. And, you know, audiences outside of the United States are a lot different. Japan and Europe, especially Italy, like there's certain spots in Europe, especially Japan, like you can hear a pin drop, right? First time I went to Europe, I was with the Brotherhood. Went to go play my bass solo. It's just me and Enrico on stage. And I turn around to Enrico. I go, why is it so quiet in here? The place was packed. He goes, because they're listening.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And as I turn around, he's like, don't fuck up. You know, I'm like, oh, man. You know? So now you're all like, because in America, man, you hear clanks, people are partying.
Yeah,
it's part of the atmosphere.
Music can also, music is just yet another distraction in all of it. Like, when you're accustomed to, you know, just being a part of moving scenery in someone else's story, it's like, it's a different ball game when you go to a place and people are like, no, I'm really interested in hearing what you've got to offer. And so, which I love that. So I'm excited to get back to that. It's one of the things that I miss about going overseas because people consume music in a different manner.
Well, you'll find that the Sydney gigs, I mean, especially the Brass Monkey in Cronulla and the Marrickville Bowler. See, Marrickville is a real musicians artist hub here in Sydney. Cool. So, and because they're ticketed shows, you've got people that are going to be going to your shows that want to go to your shows. They'll sit there and they'll respect it while you're playing, and then once your song's over, they'll be yeah. So that's cool. that's what you should expect when you come and do these gigs. So I'm planning on getting to the Coaldale RSL gig, which is the Sunday, because I can't get to the Friday, Saturday. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
What's the name of the, I don't think it's still open. There's a venue there. I can't remember. Bring a lot of bands from the States. It was in a basement.
Oh, it's called The Basement.
The Basement.
Yeah, The Basement. Yeah. So that was in the Rocks, which is, if you know the Rocks, it's kind of where the cruise ships come in to the harbour, and it's kind of in that sort of area. Yeah, all the top acts used to come there. Like just it was literally a basement. You walk downstairs and
yeah. Have you ever been to New Orleans?
I haven't. No, I haven't been to the US. No.
It's a different world. It's a different, like if you came to New Orleans, you would have no idea what the US is.
Okay.
You would have no clue. Like we don't have any strip malls here. Like we have to, we talk about parishes. Orleans Parish, it's different. It's very, very different. And it's hard to leave. It's very communal. So you do have violence, but you also have like, it's hard to explain where I feel safer here than anywhere else in the world.
Yep.
Because I know, you know what I mean?
You know the place. Yep.
But there's so much history here. You just walk down the street and you can feel it and you can sense it and you can feel the spirits.
Well, New Orleans is older than is older than the country itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and before it was New Orleans, it was Bolbancha, which is the land of many tongues, because this was always a trading post for all of the native tribes would meet here to trade wares. Right there where the French market is now located was a trading post where everybody would bring their wares so that they could trade.
Is there a lot of new development going on in New Orleans, or is it still?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
For us, yes, but for the
it's
we're still back in time. Louisiana's about 10 years behind everybody else, if not more.
I mean,
in some ways,
Yeah, yes and no. Like you can go, if you want to go to the suburbs area, if you want to go to the suburbs, you'll find Everytown USA. You'll find the same chains, the same stuff that you can pretty much access anywhere else. But in the city itself, it still very much has its own identity. Yes.
Yep. That's great. It's really good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm so happy I got to meet you today and chat. I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to you guys coming out and playing. And I'll catch you at that gig on the Sunday.
Sure enough.
If there's anything I can do for you before you come, or while you're here, just let me know, and I'm happy to help out. But I'm sure the Ray and Geoff trio and the team are sorting you out. So
looking forward to it. And the weekend after that, we'll be going down to Melbourne to play with Geoff Achison. So and you can look us up on whatever social media, and we'll be posting all about it.
Yep. Sorry, Arsene. I'll put all the links to all that, to all your social media in the show notes to this, and
cool.
on the website and that kind of stuff. So,
and I should probably mention that I actually do have an album coming out at the end of the week. It's a jazz album that it's a project that I do with another friend of mine who's like a brother to me. It's the Arsène, DeLay, Antoine DL A2D2 experience. It is a jazz album that is tribute to my family, tribute to my roots.
Fantastic. So I'll link that also in the show notes of this. So yeah.
Cool, man.
All right, guys, enjoy your evening while I go and enjoy my morning.
Your morning?
Take care.
Yeah, take care, guys. And, looking forward to catching you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Stevie.